Hi everyone. Let's talk about whether you should buy an edible ink printer and whether edible ink printers are even worth it, depending on what you want to do with them. And, clearly you're going to be printing edible wafer paper or icing sheets, but are you running a cake business and that's something that you're doing kind of as a secondary thing just to put on cakes that you sell? Or are you planning on selling the edible wafer paper and icing sheets? The main thing to consider is how often are you going to be using the printer? Because if you're just an occasional user and you're using them maybe once a month to print something on a birthday cake that you're making for a customer, don't buy an edible ink printer for yourself. It's going to cause you more trouble than it's worth. And it's going to cost more than it would cost to have someone else print the stuff for you. And I'll talk about some alternatives to having a printer yourself in just a minute. But the fact about these printers is that, they're normal printers. They're just a regular printer, but they have edible ink cartridges in them. And people think, oh, well, I could just put the cartridges in and they'll work the same way as a printer. No, because the food coloring ink doesn't have the same chemicals that keep the ink flowing smoothly through the print head. And the print head has tiny little crevices. I did another video about that. I'll post it either up here. I don't know where it goes, up here or up here. And you can see that after. I'll post a link to it after this video. But the print heads are tiny. There's tiny little crevices that the ink has to make its way through. Food coloring ink is a different texture than regular printer ink, and it gets clogged up a lot faster. So unless you're using the printers a lot and you're forcing that ink through the print head on a regular basis, it is very common that the ink will just stop printing. And then you have to take the print head out and clean it. And depending on what kind of a printer you have, you can't do that. Always get a Canon. That's the first thing. Always make sure that the printer that you do buy has a print head that you can take out and clean yourself. Because if you have a print head that doesn't come out of the printer, it just makes your life so much more difficult. It's not worth it. I only use Canon printers. That's just an aside, okay? But if you're just a casual user and you're not going to be printing things on a regular basis every single day, don't get an edible ink printer. You're going to hate it. You're going to throw it out the window and you're going to waste your money. All right, now if you're someone who uses edible ink images a lot, then it might be a good idea to get a printer for yourself if you're willing to maintain it. Like I said, I have a business where I sell wafer paper that's printed with edible ink. And I print every day, multiple sheets on every printer. I have 3 printers working at any given time. I print multiple sheets every day. So that ink stays flowing through those print heads pretty well. They still get clogged up. I'll be printing something and it'll just stop printing one color. I have to stop that machine. I have to take everything apart. I have to clean it. And it'll happen. There's no way around it because the food coloring ink is not the same as regular printer ink. It just doesn't work the same way. So unless you have the time and, it takes a lot of time to maintain these printers. And, it comes a point where you're cleaning one out every other day and you just have to get a new one. And then there's an additional cost to that. So the main question, if you're trying to decide whether you should buy an edible ink printer, is are you going to use it every now and then, or are you going to use it every day? How much are you going to use it? Can you go and print just something every single day just to keep the print ice, like the ink going through it? And if your answer is no, I don't want to take that time, then don't buy an edible ink printer. Okay. If you're going to be using them a lot, then maybe you can try one. They're not that expensive to buy. And I think a lot of people fall into that trap because you think, oh, it's not that much. I'll just invest in my business a little bit. But then you don't realize the other side of it is that they take a lot of maintenance. Okay, so that's the first thing. Are you going to use it a lot? You're going to use it a little? If you're only using it a little, don't get one. The other thing to think about is how much do you have to invest in your business? Because if you're running a tight budget and your profit margins are not that high, it might not be the best use of your money to buy a system because you have to buy the printer, you have to buy the paper or the icing sheets, you have to buy the ink. And all of these things run out. And yeah, obviously you're going to sell the printed sheet for more than it costs you, but over time it adds up. And it might be better financially if you are selling cakes and you're not selling the paper and prints itself. If you're just selling cakes, it might be better to have someone else do the printing for you, and you're going to spend less in the long run, and it's going to increase your profits because you don't have that expense. If you don't have an edible ink printer, where are you going to get your printed images? Well, obviously you can get them from me. I do sell them, like I've said. I don't sell icing sheets. I only sell wafer paper because icing sheets I tend to have trouble with, and I don't want to deal with customers who buy the icing sheets way ahead of time and then the icing sheet won't come off the backing paper. It's just an added level of complexity. So I only sell wafer paper. But if you're interested in icing sheets, there are probably people in your location, like in town or online, that you can buy them from. So you can obviously buy wafer paper from me. You can buy them from other people online. I mean, that doesn't help if you need something today, right? And I think a lot of people think, oh, I'll just get a printer, and then if I have a last minute order, I'll be able to print everything myself. But then if you go to print it and the printer isn't working, then you have to fix that printer and you have to stop doing everything else. And sometimes the printer won't fix. This is the problem. Sometimes you just get to the point where the printer is dead and it's time for a new printer. And I can guarantee you that that usually will happen when you need an image really badly. It's just going to happen when you need it the most. So if you can buy things in advance and you're looking for wafer paper, contact me. I can, help you out with that. But if you need something last minute, number one, look to see if there are any grocery stores in your area that sell cakes that have custom, and make sure it's custom printed, icing sheets or wafer paper on their cakes. Because if they're doing things that are custom, they'll have a printer in the store. And a lot of stores don't have these anymore because they're just buying kits and they're buying, from Deco Pack and that kind of place, that they don't customize. But a lot of places still do. I think a lot of the Kroger grocery stores still have edible ink printers, and they will print things for you if you go in there and ask. So look around and see that, if there's somebody in your area that sells them on cakes that they sell, and they might sell you an edible image. You can also check around to see if there are, for example, I'm in Virginia, and if someone is local to me, they can call me and say, can you print this for me? I need it by this afternoon. And I can do it because it's not that hard for me. I've done this for so long. I'm set up. I'm ready to go, right? So look around to see if there are other bakers in your area who own printers, who use them all the time, and contact them and say, would you be willing to sell me just the images if I need them? And you can generally find someone who will do that for you because it's, it's just a little extra income for them. It's not a big deal. But don't expect them to be able to match colors, because I know a lot of people want their colors exactly, perfect. It doesn't work that way with food coloring ink. Don't expect them to sell you things that are licensed or copyrighted like Disney or logos. I get a lot of people asking, can you do this Chanel purse? And the answer is no, because it's trademarked and I'm not going to sell that without a license because I could get sued. So don't expect people to do things like that for you. But if it's just someone's picture that they want on a cake and you don't have an edible ink printer, you can probably strike up a relationship with someone in your area who does sell those and has a printer, and see what you can arrange, because that's probably the easiest thing to do if you don't have time to order it ahead of time from me, And I do have customers who just send me an email and say, I need, 100 of these, and send me an invoice. And I send them an invoice over PayPal. I do a lot of custom orders individually. So it is something that people do. So just keep that in mind. You don't have to have a printer if you have someone else that who has a printer. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is that you have to assume that the cost of the wafer paper is going to go up. The cost of the ink is going to go up. The formulation of the ink is going to change. And these are all things that you don't really have control over. So unless you know the printer system really well, you have to be very careful about investing a lot of money in it if you're not going to be using it all the time. And, for people that are using it all the time, it might make sense to get one. But like I said, if you're just an occasional user and you're going to have to be adjusting your knowledge of this stuff all the time, it might not be the best investment in your business. So I just wanted to put that out there. I want to warn people. I know a lot of people who have bought edible ink printers who have basically thrown them out the window because they're so frustrating. And they are very frustrating. If you don't use them on a regular basis, they get clogged, the ink dries up. It's just not a good thing to have unless you're using it all the time. So leave me any questions, give this video a thumbs up, and I will talk to you later.